Hello everybody, my name is Jeffrey Davis and this is Radio Entrepreneurs, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in and for signing on. We keep growing and growing, and I think we owe that to our team of great helpers, Chris Gerald, Nathan Gobes, and they've done a great job with that. We also want to thank our host for this whole segment we're going to be doing, and that is the firm of Gray, and that means my co-host is the one, the only, Rich Hirschen.
Hey Jeff, how are you? Good to be here. Glad to have you back.
Thank you very much, Rich. It's nice to be with you again, and nice to be back. Gray. Lovely offices. You've done a great job here.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Our next guest, someone which I hope our listeners are starting to get familiar with, because she talks to us about cybersecurity, protecting our firms. We're talking about Michelle Drolet, CEO of TowerWall. Welcome back.
Thank you very much. It's great to be back.
Right.
So tell us what's going on in the cybersecurity business right now. You hear a lot about in the newspapers, usually not such great stories or scary stories. So what are you seeing out there?
I hate to start with fear, uncertainty, and
I know,
doubt,
but
you know
it
what?
draws the people in. You
Gotta
know?
have to have it, right? So I was thinking about what would be interesting today, and ransomware. What people are saying is that ransomware attacks are going down. I don't see it. I think ransomware attacks might be going down a little bit, but the sizes of the ransoms that are being asked are astronomical. If I could share, and I can't share the name, that would be wrong. But one of our customers just recently had a very large ransomware attack where one of their machines didn't have antivirus on it, anti-malware, that protection. And from that one machine, the bad guys got in. They got in, and then they took over all the machines, and they locked them down, and then they sent out a ransom note. Can you imagine? Stores across the country closed.
So tell us how something like this happens. What, does someone get an email and click on something that they shouldn't have, or in this case sounds like maybe it was antivirus software wasn't there, but somehow there's got to be something that someone does that allows something like that to happen.
I wish I could say that it was one thing and then that was that silver bullet, but there's no silver bullet, and there's all different ways. Yes, people, the clickers are the worst. So this one didn't get, yes, it's the oops people. And it's interesting, kind of sidebar for a second, that awareness piece from helping organizations and their employees understand that they're all part of that security program. They're all part of the security team. We should all have an S for Superman on our shirt, because we all have to protect the organization. Gray. You guys have tons of information. You are I'm one of your customers from a financial perspective. You house.
No, Rich hoses.
Sorry, no, you really don't, Rich. But you host my information, so you are obligated to protect it. So your employees need to be, taught not to click. So going back to that ransomware attack, they actually had a vulnerability, and that hacker, that bad guy, got in because they exploited that piece of vulnerability and then exfiltrated the system. And it wasn't just a $52,000 exploit. It was a six-figure exploit. And organizations, a lot of organizations pay ransomware. A lot of organizations pay the ransom because they don't have the backups, they don't have the information stored in the right places, so that they're handcuffed completely. So if you think about it, you really want to be good stewards of your information, and you want to make sure that you protect your customers and your employees' information.
Well, you made it sound before like Game of Thrones. When you talked about fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and you definitely have created some of that, but you really didn't create it. So what do entrepreneurs do? I mean, if you look at my company, we're all on the web all the time doing research. I'm doing research every day, I'm reading every day, I'm going through papers, and it wouldn't be hard to click something and not know, because people know I'm on the web, but I know my staff is on the web doing research all the time. So what do companies do?
So the first thing you need to figure out is what your risk tolerance is. So what do you really care about? If something small gets out, do you care? If something big gets out, do you care? So you kind of build that to start out with. So then that's that risk piece. Then you start building defense in depth, and that's programs, that's technology, those are all sorts of different things. That's the user awareness, because your users, like I said earlier, are your weakest link in anything you do. Those clickers, sometimes they just don't stop clicking, and then they need to be gone. So there's different decisions that you need to make. So the firewalls, the antivirus, the anti-malware, the two-factor authentication, the ransomware, zero-day, technologies. There's all sorts of different new, what they call, I hate this, next-gen technologies that are out there that organizations need to implement, but then put programs around it to protect their customers as well as their employees' information, as well as their intellectual property. Forget that.
It's such a crazy world out there with all this. So what's the best piece of advice you would give your clients? What's the one thing they should do?
The one thing that they should do.
Maybe there's more than one. There probably is.
How about three?
I was going to say the three things that they should do. Have a really solid understanding of what your risk tolerance is, and then build a program plan around that. So you wouldn't build a house without a blueprint. You need to have an information security program plan to execute, just like your business strategy. User awareness, that's probably the least costly and the most bang for your buck. Because if you can get your employees on your team and understand that click or that phone call or processing that invoice that looks a little funny could cause great harm to the organization, and be aware. And then the other piece would be the technology. And Rome was not built in a day, nor does information security have to be built in a day. We don't have to drink from a fire hose. If we're methodical and we have a program plan in place, we can build that maturity. And even if something bad happens, you can show what you're doing, and you're doing your due diligence, so that when the AG comes in because you've had a breach, you can say, I didn't have funding for this, but it's on my roadmap and I'm working towards it. And that will go a long way. I think that was more than three, though.
Yeah, that's fine. It was all good advice.
But you really can't stop people from going on the web. That's where everybody is today.
So interesting, was in a meeting with an organization that has board of directors that they're elderly, like in their late 80s, early 90s, this board of directors. The New York has a reg, I'm sure you're familiar with it, the DFS. This basically is really, really rigid as far as accounting firms, insurance companies, those types of things to do business in New York. And so this CEO of this particular organization said, you know what, how much business are we doing, to go to my board of directors. Make a long story short, the board of directors said, you know what, we did everything with paper years ago. Why can't we go back to that? And that's some people's mentality, but that's not how it is today. And so being vigilant, being, extra careful on what you're doing is key. But then also understanding that the bad guys, it's not the nefarious guys out there with the hoods, working at, 2 o'clock in the morning. Okay, that's what my engineers do when they're doing their ethical hacking. But they're really 9 to 5 now. These guys are 9 to 5. They have jobs. They have help desks. It's not just this group of hackers. It's a completely different world that we live in.
Wow. Everybody, we've been speaking with Michel Drolet, CEO of TowerWall. Quite a sobering discussion. I'm here with Rich Hirschen from Gray, Gray & Gray. I just want to tell you that a couple of times you referred to those people as bad guys, not bad people. So it's interesting. If I would have come on here and said bad girls, I probably would have gotten a few hundred emails and responses. But you
Excellent point.
It's unbelievable. You can say bad guys, but not bad girls.
Well, I'm not even going to go there.
So, Michel, if any of those nice people are looking for you who don't like bad guys, how would they find you?
So we do a whole bunch of different things. I actually write a blog for CSO Online called InfoSec at Your Service. I do a blog for Forbes. My Twitter is Michelle D at number 2. My email address is michelleD@towerwall.com. Just would love to help in any way that we possibly can.
Great. I want to thank you very much, and I want to thank the guy sitting to my left,
Yes.
my host, Rich Hirschen, who's one of the good guys.
I can tell.
Yeah, I think it's to a fault. He's one of the good guys. My name is Jeffrey Davis. Some people say that the jury is still out on me.
I can tell. No, I'm just kidding.
We'll take a break. We'll be right back after these messages on Radio Entrepreneurs.